Today on an all-new Dr. Phil, Sharenting.
How far will families go for social media likes?
Dirty diaper.
Down one and up one.
Family pride
We've been posting a video every day for the last 3 years.
or inappropriate parenting.
We can't dictate what another individual is going to find embarrassing.
You post about breastfeeding. You hope your daughter looks back at these posts and is proud of them. But what if she's not? Well, there's a term being called sharenting, which is the practice of parents publicizing sensitive content about their children on internet platforms. So, are some parents and family members crossing the line? And how far will families go for social media likes? Now, proponents of sharenting say it is their right as a parent to post whatever they want about their child. Now, critics, on the other hand, say family members posting sensitive content or oversharing about their children for social media clout is inappropriate, and it's risky for the child's mental health as well as possible future embarrassment. And because you never really know who your audience is, think about that. Well, we're going to talk about all of that today, so let's just get started. We're going to meet a family who has amassed roughly 16 million followers on social media, with 341 million views on TikTok by sharing their lives online. You're not a poster at all.
I am barely a poster. I will confess,
That's why I ask you. You do post some.
I do post some. And I will confess that when I first had my son, who's now 11, I was posting a fair amount on Facebook, and part of how I got interested in this topic was trying to figure out what was right for me and my family, which may be different than other people and their families.
Okay, so you did wade in.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Okay. I love your term. Also on stage is Sarah, a mom who uses her social media platform to educate parents about the dangers of public oversharing. And of course, that's the big question, Sarah, is what's the definition of oversharing? What's oversharing and what's not?
Yeah, and I think that can be interpreted differently for different people.
Yeah,
I don't know if there's a
It has
general.
to do with age, and
Of
it has,
course.
but you never know who's watching.
100%.
This is full time. You're at this. You're busy at this.
Yes, we are.
How many posts have you put up?
We've been posting a video every day for the last 3 years, so I'd imagine over 1,000, at least over 1,000.
1,000.
Yeah.
Now, you say every so often you do get negative comments that usually come from trolls. And by trolls, there are people that set up accounts. They don't have any followers. They just create an account with a screen name so they can say ugly things.
Absolutely. And honestly, I've learned to ignore it, but I'm just thinking for somebody that's not able to ignore it, that could really affect their mental health.
There are people out there that have no boundaries, no limits to what they will say and what they do. Now, Leah, you're concerned about people that post up. I think we would agree most parents don't intend to put their children in jeopardy. They don't intend to expose their children in some negative way. I think that would include probably 99% of parents.
Absolutely.
But your concern is that inadvertently they can be putting their children in jeopardy, exposing information that can create problems.
That is my concern, that we don't know who our audience will be now or in the future. We don't know how content may be repurposed, remixed, reshared, and used in ways that we can't anticipate as parents. I'm a mom myself. I've got 2 kids. I adore them, and I absolutely agree. I think almost all parents have their kids' best intentions at heart, and I can tell you folks do. So my concern is not with the parental choice up front. My concern is with how that content may travel. I am concerned about the world that we're living in right now.
Yeah, and you think that children's privacy is being invaded, even if they don't, he says his children don't really have an awareness of what's going on, but you think that also means they can't give consent.
Yeah, I don't think children are able to give informed consent. They don't know what they're getting involved with in regard to posting publicly on social media. You're an adult
and you know consent, and you know what you're getting involved in regard to the trolls and the potential, consequences and ramifications. And children just aren't aware of what social media is. They like to be filmed and they like to participate in the family activity, but they don't know the long-term ramifications and consequences to all the public oversharing.
Who here thinks that parents have a right to post whatever they want of their own children? It's their child, they can post whatever they want. Who here thinks that's true? Raise your hand really high. Now, who here thinks, nah, wait a minute, the kid's young and I know they may not have a good legal mind yet about their rights, but they should have a vote in all of this? Raise your hand. Okay, most of you think they should have a vote in all of this. My question is, you're saying the children, this could be exploitive, it could haunt them later or whatever, but if this was true, we would never have child actors.
I think in regard to child actors, and the comparison is made a lot between like social media kids and child actors, but one thing that child actors have that currently social media children do not are rules and regulations.
What do you think about that?
We need better state and federal laws and regulations and enforcement to get at some of those bad actors. But then in terms of making it possible for parents and sometimes grandparents and other adults who are choosing to create a business with their child's entertainment, we need to have some guardrails around that as well.
So you have how many children?
One.
Okay. And you've posted how many videos?
Hundreds.
Hundreds?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you post about breastfeeding and you've gone past probably the average
Correct.
breastfeeding by how much?
I feel like in the US, the average is about 1 year old, but in other countries, you can go up to 7 years old, and that's completely normal. So I personally have just chosen to go a little bit longer because I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I'm able to. And so I love the bond with my child, and I know that it still gives her a ton of nutrients, so I do it.
And you post it, why?
Well, actually, the original time that I posted breastfeeding, I wasn't going to post it. I was joking around, taking a video, breastfeeding my daughter. We were dancing to whatever was popular at that time, and my niece was dancing as well. My sister was like, oh, you have to post this. It's hilarious. So I did. Nothing happened, and then about a month later, all of a sudden on TikTok, it just blew up a ton. And I got plenty of positive feedback, but also a ton of negative feedback.
And what was the negative feedback?
I had people going to the extent of telling me to kill myself, actually.
Telling somebody to kill themselves on the internet is just, there's no justification for it. Now, you say specifically when it comes to breastfeeding that you hope your daughter looks back at these posts and is proud of them, but what if she's not?
Well, then that's something that we will have to deal with later, but I think that breastfeeding really is not normalized, and so you should be able to go out in public and breastfeed if you want, but so many people will look at you in public and think that you're disgusting, but I am just nourishing and feeding my child. It's not like I'm doing it to be sexual or do anything wrong.
For me, I think it all comes down to the topic of consent. It's one of the most important things we can teach our children is consent, and the best way to teach them is to model it. And as parents, that is our responsibility. So how can you model consent while at the same time taking it away from them?
We've talked to the cyber prosecutors, the cyber investigators, and there are hashtags that predators are drawn to, like hashtag bath time baby, hashtag kid bikini, but they're drawn to those hashtags, and that's where they go looking for content. Plus, there are other things they can do with these images, right?
That's right. There are other ways that individuals, but also companies, can take images that parents post on social media. So we have documentation that images of toddlers back in 2005 posted were used in 2019 or so to train facial recognition software. That's one of many examples of not individual perpetrators and bad actors, but actually companies swooping in and scooping up images and repurposing them. So you're absolutely right. That is a concern as well.
Yeah, what do you want to say?
It's just a lot to think about. I always say that there are certain things that I think should just be a general no-no for parents, and that's definitely like personal identifiable information, like full names and birth dates. And I think some topics should just be off limits. As you mentioned, bath time, potty training is also something that they look for, swimwear, as you mentioned. I believe there are certain things that maybe generally as parents we can all just agree on shouldn't be posted publicly online.
Well, we're back talking about sharing our lives on social media, and we've talked about a lot about the negatives today, but do my guests feel there are any positives to sharing information online? And yeah, I want to ask Robin, have you noticed sharenting and social media has changed throughout the years?
Yes, it has changed so much. It's grown, all the platforms, so many platforms. And what I can't believe is how young the children are that get on these platforms. We were talking about Avery and London, and I can remember when they were just 3 years old, 4 years old, they could get on the platforms, they could show me how to set up a new account. Of course, I said, no, I don't want to do that. But so many out there, and they allow the children on them. Everything has changed. It's grown, and to me, it's very, very dangerous. It's scary.
You know, there's a term that you may have heard called presentism. And that's a term where you go back and find something that happened years in the past and pull it up to the present and judge it by current day standards. Things that might have been okay with the social mores and folkways of the time, but not today. And you pull it up, measure it by today's standards, and judge somebody by that. I worry about that too. How many of you will think about this differently, having focused on it with regard to your kids? Raise your hand if you would. Okay, that's what I thought. It does make you think, right? And it's too bad, but the fact of the matter is when kids get on the internet, they, on average, encounter a predator within minutes a significant percentage of the time. I mean, they're there. They know where kids go. I don't know what conversations you've had with all the kids when they were younger and stuff like that, but your content is very family friendly.
The doctors have opened up our eyes, though, going forward. I think that we have to really make sure before we put the grandkids out there to make sure we understand what we're doing, because this opened up my eyes a lot, honestly.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna think twice before we.
There's a reason that videos of kids in bathtubs and things like that go viral. If you look at someone's profile and their main and first viral video is their child in the bathtub, or the child having their diaper changed, or a breastfeeding video, you are not sexualizing it, obviously. It's a beautiful thing. I breastfed both of my daughters. It's a beautiful thing between a mom and a daughter. You are not sexualizing it, but on the internet, there are thousands, millions of people that are. And while you may make that decision to put yourself out there like that and educate the way that you do and bring awareness to something that's very important to you, your child hasn't.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil, a brutal attack. He grabs you and throws you into that wall by a complete stranger.
Surveillance shows the man stomp on her head.
You may lose your vision. Is that true?
I can't see out of my eyes. They're not doing what they're supposed to do to keep the city safe.
If they're not doing their job, kick their butt to the curb, and you can do it with your vote. That's tomorrow. Do you have a story or a question for me? Click the link in the description and tell me what in the world is going on.